Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I just watched season 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and I want to do my episode by episode review because, as usual, I just have my little overview, but I want to get into the individual episodes. But yeah, Homogeny episode 1, I watched 1 and 2 because I just wanted to watch them as a double. So when I did my review of season 3, I hadn't actually watched it, but I remembered it really well from the season before, so like a year before. So I wasn't too worried about that. Now, Homogeny 2, it's just very convenient. Just a lot of fixes. It's just like, okay, we put ourselves in this situation at the end of last season. Now we just have to get out of that situation. And they just did it in the most convenient ways possible they could. And it's okay. It's one of those mid-episodes where it's like, oh, okay, and they rescued them. Oh, and they beamed them out. And it's just nothing amazing. But the sort of look at religion, like the idea of Pike sort of an enlightenment and stuff. I was like, I don't like the idea of any sort of religion or superstition being in Star Trek. Star Trek is one of the few places where you could go where you don't have to worry about religion or superstition. It was just science and fact. And so that's the only real issue I had with the episode. The rest is just all the conveniences of the way things happen to get people out of stuff, but you knew they were going to get out anyway, so it's like, okay. Those sort of episodes are not that interesting, like just getting out of a problem. Now, Wedding Bell Blues. Now, this is... it's a flawed concept. The art, just the way that emotions can break you out of Tree Lane's spell make no sense. They would have been better off having having Tree Lane be the one that caused the 4.5 Vulcan situation where he just snapped his fingers and made them all Vulcan. That would have worked. Doing it through scientific means was just cringe. Just like having the musical episode happen and trying to explain through science that the crew's basically dancing and singing in formation was ridiculous. Now, like I said, had they had Tree Lane come in and just turn them all into Vulcans, that would have worked. In here, he it's like a way. Just having Tree Lane there was a waste because he didn't really do anything except just play with them and just play a silly little game where he, for some reason, wanted to put Spock and Chapel together because he knew Spock liked Chapel. There was just nothing there. There are a few little moments that were funny, but for the most part, it's just a bit of a chore. And it just seemed really frivolous. Okay, so Shuttle to Kenfori. That was an interesting one because I really hate that Mbenga assassinated the Klingon ambassador or whatever he was last season. And the fact he lied to the captain about it, and then this episode he says that he did it because he's confronted by the daughter of the man that he killed. And he says he did do it, but then Pike sort of acts like, well, number one, this mission is not on the books, so I don't have to report anything. Because he's asking, are you going to report me because I just basically confessed to killing a Klingon on a ship and a Klingon ambassador, which had huge, political ramifications and so forth and could have caused a lot of problems. And he said, well, number one, this mission wasn't on the books, so I don't have to report anything, but also, as far as I'm concerned, you just told a story to get us out of trouble. And I'm like, well, that's willfully, that's just some denial there. And it's just really frustrating. It's like, he's like, you're not a monster, you're just a man. And I'm like, why are you excusing this person for murder, for revenge, for hate? Because those are all the things he felt for this guy. There was no reason to kill him, no justification. And just the fact that I'm kind of glad they did make it clear because some people believe he didn't kill him and they believed the lie and they thought, no, he didn't kill him. Like, yeah, he did. That is obvious. How can you say that? Now, at least they've actually said, yes, he did kill them. So that's one good thing about it. But yeah. Now, the zombies were actually really good. I'd heard the zombies didn't work, that the Klingons, people, and this is the problem where you listen to other people's reviews and people either make things up or maybe they do the same thing and they're just assuming and not actually having watched the episode. But I heard that the Klingons were boring zombies. They were just walking around. It's like, well, when you make Vulcan zombies, it's kind of interesting. But when you make Klingon zombies, it takes their edge off. They're not scary anymore because they're just like stumbling around like zombies. But these zombies were not stumbling around like, Night of the Living Dead zombies. They were more like The Last of Us zombies, you know. And they were actually pretty good. And I actually had a couple of jump scares, and I'd even seen one in a short, in a clip, but it still made me jump. And I'm like, damn. But yeah, it was a good episode. I enjoyed the zombiness. I kind of was okay with the Klingon daughter who ends up sacrificing herself because it's an honourable death, and no one's going to know about it, but she knows about it. So there were parts of it that worked. So I didn't mind that episode, and I thought I was not going to like it, but I did. Now, Space Adventure Hour, I think that's the name. Oh my god, Jesus, this was so offensive. I had seen parts of the parody scene. I thought I'd seen all of it. I'd seen like an edited version that was a lot shorter. It just kept going and going. It was just like being slapped in the face over and over again. It was just cringe and criminal, and trying to make out that the original Star Trek was like some tacky 1950s Flash Gordon kind of serial. I just don't know where they get that from. Now, I know this is someone's thinking on the show, because when you listen to the opening theme, the very end is that that instrument that they use in The Day the Earth Stood Still, and stuff like that. It's like a 50s thing they're putting on there on the end. Like, oh, we're doing a throwback to old 50s sci-fi, and like Star Trek wasn't 50s sci-fi. It's just maddening, because that's how they think of Star Trek. This shows what these people think of Star Trek. They think it's some old cliched camp joke that doesn't work, that you can't watch and take seriously. They have like this alien holding up eyeballs on strings, and you can see their hands are holding these poles. I'm like, not even a kid's program from like the 40s would do something that bad. They might have had the eyeballs on wires attached to the person's costume or something, and kind of like our Muppets have the wires on their hands that you just pretend like you don't see them, because we know they're puppets. Something like that they could have gotten away with, and it still would have looked bad and been funny, but they just ridiculous. In the end, where they do like the mock bloopers with the original series credit music running over it, oh, that made me sick. It just did. I thought that someone had said there were some funny bloopers at the end. I thought they were real bloopers, and I'm like, no, this is just a expansion of that parody scene. And just the annoying thing is the episode itself, without that parody, is fine. I enjoyed it. And some kind soul out there actually edited out those scenes. So it just starts from the captain's log with Lance saying we're going through this new holodeck technology and everything, and they also cut out the little bit of showing them filming that scene backstage. They basically cut to where it goes cut. So someone did a version of this episode that's actually watchable, but those scenes are unbearable. They are offensive, and they just show someone's utter disrespect for the show. And the annoying thing is the rest of the show, where they're talking about what the show meant to people and that, and why cancelling it was so horrible and all that, that is beautiful. And that shows, it's like, there seem to be conflicting things in this series, in this show, production-wise, where there are people who don't get Star Trek, who don't like Star Trek, who are constantly pushing this anti-Star Trek narrative, and there's other people who get Star Trek, who are trying to celebrate Star Trek and give us Star Trek, and they keep butting up against each other and cancelling each other out, and it's just really bizarre. I really want to know the behind the scenes for this show later on. I know years from now, when the NDAs are over, people will be talking about this. There'll be people on the convention circuit from the show, or being interviewed for I guess there won't be special features anymore. Maybe there will be special editions of Star Trek on DVD and Blu-ray still in like 10 years. But I really want to know what happened, because I'm looking at this and going like, this is just wrong, insane, doesn't make sense. Okay. So that, it's what Drekkies think Star Trek is, those parody scenes, and that ruins the rest of the episode. And the idea itself is great. Now, through the lens of time, why am I having trouble remembering what episode this was? I'm just going to skip it, I'll come back to it. This is the Lat Who Ate Its Tail. Just starting off a captain's log about, I'm so bored with space travel because the Vulcan scientist isn't taking risks and endangering people, like people's lives don't matter. It just shows Kirk being reckless and stupid. Now we do see him get that kicked out of him, and get himself together and actually work out how to captain, and that's nice. But yeah, it was interesting to see the way they were sort of doing their little backdoor pilot where they got all the members of the original crew that are on Strange New Worlds onto a ship together with Kirk, working together as a team. And it did work. I did enjoy it. It was good. I like this episode. But yeah, just that initial start rubbed me wrong, but then right away that sort of gets, kicked out of him. What is Starfleet? Now, this is weird because I don't know, was this someone trying to make Starfleet look bad, kind of as an example of today's, government and patriarchy? Or were they trying to make the extreme left, who always complain about this stuff, look bad? I wasn't sure who they were trying to make look bad, because the documentary starts off making Starfleet look bad, but you're very aware of the fact that this is bad faith on the part of the documentary filmmaker. And then you see him realise what Starfleet is, and that's nice. So it ends well, but it starts off bad. I'm not sure exactly. It doesn't quite. There are so many. The episodes that don't work seem to be in conflict with themselves, and this is one of them on some level. Now, the documentary. A lot of people talk about the documentary footage being so rough, and I'm like, well, he's filming it live. It's not like he's actually filming a regular documentary. He's going into someone's workplace, and he's also using workplace cameras, so he can't choose the angles. And the people putting in these cameras, people are complaining about the angles. I'm like, well, this was put in by an engineer who said, well, we need to have cameras all over the ship, so okay, we'll put one here, we'll put one here. And they're not thinking in terms of angles, because it's not about art or entertainment, it's about just recording what happened, what people are saying. So now they could have made that a bit more palatable. They could have taken a bit of license with that. They seem to have gone in the other direction, where we're acting like it's just sort of just random cameras that don't sort of have any intention of capturing anything watchable. But yeah, I like the message at the end that Starfleet, these organisations are made up of the people and they shape it. So even though there may be issues with the actual the institution itself, the people fix that or balance that. And some people had a problem with that message, which I did not understand. Vera, Jesse Gender, but I liked it. So, oh God, 4.5 Vulcans, Jesus. This is really maddening. Do you know how this would have worked and been really good? It only occurred to me when I was doing these reviews. If this had been the Tree Lane episode, if he had just clicked his fingers and made the crew into Vulcans, well, some of the crew members into Vulcans, that would have taken away the scientific ridiculousness of it, and we just could have focused on the humour of it and the fish out of water element of it. It could have really worked. Instead, they have Tree Lane just doing a pointless thing, putting Spock and Chapel together, and then we have a ridiculous scientific explanation, although it's alien science, but doing the reverse engineering of it, that was ridiculous and didn't work. And why they would have thought that would work, it was really stupid. And the only good thing about it is the worst scene is the transformation scene, and we've all seen that. So it was all like uphill from there. I was going to say downhill, but it was all uphill from there. And some of the scenes with the actors, some of the situations were quite comedic. Now, the idea that La'an starts to become like really aggressive and Romulan-like, and no one does anything officially, like they all seem to just be turning a blind eye to the fact she's clearly planning to like cause at the very least diplomatic problems, if not an actual war. And trying to play that for comedy didn't work. So this episode doesn't work on many levels, but it could have. That's the frustrating thing. It could have, if they'd gone with Tree Lane and gone for a magical way to do this, and the only way you can do that is an alien like Tree Lane. So they wasted Tree Lane, and then they had this episode with just like no rationale for how this could make any sense. Now, Terralium, I think that's called. This one really made me sad because I knew that the Gorn was going to die. So the whole time I'm watching it, even though people said they knew it was going to die, they just knew that was going to happen. I did actually know, and it just made me really sad. I got really sad during the episode because I didn't want to see this alien die, and I don't see why they had to. I don't see why they couldn't have Ortegas couldn't have stopped them from killing her, and she couldn't have gotten asylum or be taken back to home world, or having repaired her injuries and then returned her back. I know wartime and everything, but in war there were moments of humanity and stuff like that. So I just found that really sad. I thought it was unnecessary. I don't know what the point of killing the Gorn at the end was. So I didn't really like that. But the episode itself was great. The effects were good. The scene, just the atmosphere, just everything. Uhura's desperation. The sort of these two creatures working together, and I'm glad that it was one-sided communication at least, because when I heard it was just going to be yes or no, I'm like, how are they going to have this work? How is the conversation going to work? I don't understand how it's going to work. The Gorn could understand Ortegas. They could understand English, but she couldn't understand Gorn. So it was one-sided. But because we can understand what she's saying, it worked. So so it could have been. It was a good episode, but it could have gone a little differently. I think they didn't get as much out of it as they could have. And a lot of people made a lot out of him saying, the Metron saying, we need to basically change your perception of the Gorn later. People acting like, oh, that's why the Gorn looked differently in the original series, like some sort of group mass delusion or hallucination or hologram or something. Like, no, he just means we're going to, make you guys confront each other again, and we're going to see if you guys can actually make peace and if we can change your perspective. Now the last episode, I'm still realizing that I don't remember what this other episode was from the title. I'll come back to that when I've finished. New life, new civilizations. The nice part about this is Pike getting to live the life he didn't think he'd have in a little section, having a little Tapestry moment. And no, I don't care that they stole it from Tapestry, because it's just a situation and it worked. But the idea that his girlfriend just somehow turns into like this magical superhero that is the only person who can hold this evil at bay, and the idea of evil, like they really get away from the fact that it's just an alien, and they try to explain it through just religious mythology and superstition, and Paleo, whatever, her speech is really disturbing. But then when she's like, do you want me to do that again? I'm like, was that a performance? Was that a performance within the show? But then, or was that the other episode? But either way, she's spouting evil again, and she actually says that if this basically gets out, it basically will be like a demon possessing people. And I'm like, they literally went there, because I thought the episode before when they were talking about this, they're going to put this on biblical terms. They're trying to speak to like the religious right or something with this episode. They're trying to like say like there is an other, that Star Trek's message was always, monsters and enemies are just aliens and people we don't understand. And basically what this episode seems to be saying is, oh no, they're just bad. They're just bad. So we can justify doing anything because there's bad people. No, it doesn't work like that. So Star Trek doesn't work like that. Intelligent society doesn't work like that. So that element I found was really disturbing. Through the lens of time, I can't even read my own writing. I think this was the one. Yes, this is the one where they go into the temple. This is the first time. Yeah, that's right. This is where Gamble gets attacked. Okay, so I don't know how I forgot that, but I was talking about that story, which is told over 2 episodes, and forgot it's actually 2 episodes. So Gamble basically is this excited ensign. He goes down to a planet. He picks up an orb. God knows why he did that. And he gets killed. And this alien that was inside that sphere possesses him, and then wants to basically free all the other spirits that are basically captured. These aliens captured in this. See, I did it. Then I said through it. Captured in these orbs. It's sort of like a prison. And they realise, oh, we nearly let all these aliens out. And of course he does get out, and he goes in the other episode back to the planet that relates to that, and they have to stop him and all that. And it's very much played like an episode of Buffy or something, where they've got this big bad and it's like a demon, and they have to save humanity from being possessed by demons. It's just, it really plays out like that, and that just has no place in Star Trek. It really doesn't, unless you've got a good scientific explanation for it later. And they kind of lean into just the idea of evil and bad, and it's just, yeah. But that's kind of what's wrong with this series. When they get it wrong, they really get it wrong, and sometimes things just don't work. And it's like there's two different conflicting forces on this show. One who gets Star Trek and can make good Star Trek, and people who really don't get it and just seem to be forcing the complete opposite onto these shows and taking them in the complete opposite direction at times. And they seem to be winning. We seem to be getting more episodes like that per season and less episodes that actually are intelligent and resemble Star Trek and are enjoyable. So, that's my episode by episode. Sorry, I forgot what that one episode was. I watched them all in one sitting, so I kind of felt like one big episode with those two episodes. They're only a couple episodes apart because the season is so short. But overall, I still liked the season, but it's getting to be 50-50 at this point, where half the episodes are problematic and bad, and the other half are good. Whereas the first couple of seasons, it was like one episode was bad. Don't have a lot of hope for season 4, because how many episodes out of 10 are going to be watchable? And season 5, which really is just an extension of season 4, because they got cancelled in season 4 and needed more to finish off all the storylines. Like, are any of those going to be good? With that few episodes, I can imagine them all being bad. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of season 3 of Strange New Worlds. I'm just really worried about the show. It could have been really great, and it just seems to be just going in the wrong direction.